Good morning, students, and happy Monday. Last week, we learned about the end of the Great Depression and the New Deal. This week, we're going to be learning about World War II. I'm going to tell you a little story, and as I tell you this story, I'm going to show you some photographs so you can see what I'm talking about. Here we go. 16 million men and women served in the U.S. military armed forces during World War II. There are many special stories about each and every one of these brave soldiers, but the story I'm about to tell you is a true story of courage, hope, and honor from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii on December 7th, 1941. William Fomby was born in Hamlin, Texas in 1919. After high school, Billy, as his family called him, worked several jobs. Unfortunately, times were still hard in Texas. The Great Depression had consumed the nation for years. Good jobs were difficult to find, even though FDR's New Deal programs were helping to improve life for Americans. On December 18, 1940, Billy decided to join the Navy. He would soon turn 21 and knew the U.S. government could draft him. Billy thought he would fit in better with the Navy than the Army, so he volunteered to sign up. In early 1941, Navy recruit, which means a new member, Bill Fomby reported for 3 months of basic training in San Diego, California. Afterward, he was assigned to his first job on board a large battleship named the USS Oklahoma. The ship was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. While on board, Bill cleaned and took care of the large guns. Bill was a hard worker and was liked by many officers on the ship. In fact, they suggested he work as a cook in the ship's kitchen so he could get a promotion. While Bill was cleaning up after breakfast the morning of December 7th, 1941, he suddenly heard one of his fellow sailors shout from the deck, "Boy, they're having a lot of practice drills this morning. Planes are flying all over the place out here." The men watched for a while, thinking the U.S. was just having practice drills. Suddenly, they heard cries of panic. "Man the anti-aircraft guns! This is a real air raid, no joke!" The Japanese were attacking. Bill ran to his weapons. Suddenly, the ship was bombarded with torpedoes. Bill clung to ship ladders while trying to reach his gun. The violent shaking of the ship tossed the men like rag dolls. Within minutes, the USS Oklahoma was sinking. Bill realized there was nothing more he could do on board the ship. It was going down quickly. Bill jumped 30 feet into the cold waters of the ocean. For what seemed like hours, he swam through heavy oil and fire. Bombs and torpedoes landed all around. Finally, he was pulled aboard another battleship named the USS Maryland. For hours, U.S. soldiers fought off the attack planes. Bill was exhausted and sick from swallowing oil and salt water, but he continued to fight. For days, the soldiers took care of the wounded and worked to clean and repair the military base. Back home in Texas, Bill's family heard of the attack. They waited to find out if Billy was safe. On December 12th, the family received word that Bill was missing. On December 15th, a telegraph arrived explaining that Bill was now thought to be dead. With great sadness, the family planned a memorial service for December 22nd, 1941. That would have been Bill's 22nd birthday. On Christmas Day, the family didn't feel like celebrating. They sat quietly and thought about the dear son they had lost. Suddenly, late on Christmas morning, the family was startled by the telephone ringing. On the other end of the line was their beloved son, Billy, calling to wish them a Merry Christmas. Their courageous son was alive. Bill Fomby continued to serve in the Navy for 6 more years. While being stationed all over the world, he worked cleanup and rescue operations in Japan after the atomic bombs were dropped on the cities of Nagasaki and Hiroshima in August 1945. After being discharged in 1947, Bill returned to Texas to marry and start a family. William Fomby never thought of himself as a hero, but what a hero he is. So now that I've told you this story, I want you to ask yourself the question: if you were to find yourself in the same place as Bill Fomby, on the deck of a sinking battleship, surrounded by enemy planes, bombs, and torpedoes, would you have the same kind of courage to jump off that ship, swim through the cold waters, find another ship, and continue to fight and help others who were wounded? Now that you've heard this story, there's two more questions I want to ask. The first question is, what did the men aboard the battleship initially think was happening, and why didn't they understand the gravity of the situation? The second question I want to ask is, why did people presume Bill was dead? In the story, we know that nothing bad happened to him, so why did the military call his parents and tell him that he was deceased? If you need to, go back and listen to the story again and think about the questions that I've asked. Thanks for listening, Roadrunners, and I hope you have a great day. Until next time, this is Mr. Scott, signing off.